Good afternoon. It's Vicki Laughlin with Dynamic Wellness. I am checking on, there we go. I am live today, Wednesday. This is, I'm reaching my midpoint of my 10-day challenge to do 10 live videos in 10 days. And it occurred to me, I watched back my video from yesterday, which was about metabolic typing, and realized I probably should give you a few more details. So that's what today is going to be all about. First of all, when you take the quiz and determine your metabolic type, hi Christine, that's just a starting point. I did mention yesterday that certain things might create a reason for you to have more. If you're a protein type, you might need more carbs than normal, and that is true. Another way to define the different types, a protein type would also be known as a fast oxidative type, which means they actually blow through their food pretty fast. So when you think about proteins, fats, and carbs, proteins and fats are going to be digested much slower than carbohydrates. If you want the carbohydrates to digest slower, you would add more fat to it. So one way to determine what your proteins are, anything with eyes or a product of an animal, basically. So your eggs and that would be protein along with the animal fat or the animal meat. Your healthy fats or anything from a healthy fats from a healthy animal. That means they haven't been injected with steroids or antibiotics. They grew up healthy. They were not sick. And the healthy vegetable fats are your avocado oil, coconut oil, olive oil, and try to stay and avoid fats that are processed fats, which are most of your vegetable fats. They process them so that they can be heated at high heat, which they should never be heated, period. They should be eaten cold or really not at all because they are processed. And then your carbohydrates are anything without eyes, so a plant, basically. So here is what a plate would look like if you were a protein type or a fast oxidative type. You have about 65 to even up to 90% of your plate in proteins and fats, and then 35 to as low as 10% in no ice foods or your carbohydrates. So that's basically what a protein type plate should look like. Now you'd want to divert off of this if you're a protein type. If, let's say, you are in a seminar learning a bunch of new material that is actually very intense, you got to use your brain a lot, it's always better to get more carbohydrates when you are learning something new. An example of a carb type would be a plate like this. You see a lot more salad and vegetables and less meat. There may be times, say in a woman's menstrual cycle, when she might do better with a little more protein, even though she is a carb type. So there's a reason there. And at any time in the winter months, I think we sort of want to nourish ourselves more. And so that could be another time. But this would be 40% eyes to 60% no eyes. And that's carb types are also known as slow oxidizers. So when you eat a vegetable, any kind of vegetable, without any fat, if you're a fast oxidizer, you blow through that food pretty fast. That's the person who, if they're a protein type but they eat like a carb type, they could end up with diabetes or blood sugar issues because their blood sugar is not going to be regulated with foods that actually oxidize faster. When you're a slow oxidizer, you can take in more carbs or more no ice foods, and that will actually, your metabolism is much slower. And then we talked about the mixed type or 50-50. variable type. There's different ways to call this, where basically your plate is split in half. And this is a large percentage of the population, and it's not a bad place to start if you're kind of confused from the questions, if you didn't quite answer them to where you definitively know what you should be. This is a good place to start. Now, there are signs and symptoms of when you've gotten too much of one thing or not enough of one thing. For example, if you eat too many carbs and not enough protein, and you're sort of even a 50-50 type, but that balance doesn't occur within an hour of when you consume your food, and for me it happens almost right away, I can get like a little headache. I think my right eye goes a little, I call it swarmy. It's just, I don't have a feeling of like, it's not satisfaction so much. It's just, it's not like I've eaten something that's benefited me to give me lots of energy and nutrition. So you can make that correction within an hour. So if in fact you've had too many carbs, go back and get a little more meat and balance out your system that way, and you might actually immediately feel a difference. Likewise, even if you're a protein type and you eat too much protein, but let's say you're the 50-50 type and you end up with too much protein, you could start craving some dessert. It actually can happen if you have too many carbs, too many of the starchy carbs. You could want to have like a sweet, sugary dessert. So I'm inviting you to, in my description here on this video, you can click on my link for my website and go and subscribe. And when I receive your email, I will send you what we call a tachometer and some instructions with that. It'll give you what a power zone should look like, which means you've eaten and your body energy, everything's functioning perfectly, versus when you haven't, when you had too much of one thing or not enough of another. It'll give you the symptoms for what you will feel. When we talk about oxidative types, or the oxidation of food, that is the rate of how food is converted to energy. So it happens rather quickly, but like we say, within an hour, you can determine whether or not you've eaten the right portion of proteins, fats, and carbs. By the way, sometimes it's not more protein you need, but let's say you think you're being good by not putting olive oil or any kind of dressing, and homemade dressings would be on your salad. Go drizzle some olive oil on there. That would be, or avocado oil. That might be enough to balance out your system and your oxidation rate. Of course, all of your food should be sources from natural sources, from nature. What I like to say, nature made or God made, not so much man made. Man is what puts things in a box with a label, and that typically means they're processed in some way. So get your nutrition on your plates from healthy whole food sources. So if it grows in the ground, grows on a tree, all of that, that's what we're seeking to try to find this balance. If you're attempting to do this with processed food, you're probably not going to get, your body's not going to have a proper reading on whether you've gotten it right. It's probably going to be a reading like you've had too many carbs, because when they're processed, there's so many additives that your body's not identifying what's supposed to maybe be a protein as an actual protein. So anyway, go to my website, click on my link for my website, or go to the description and click on my website and subscribe, and and if you've taken this quiz and maybe have a few questions, this will actually be a way, the tachometer will be the way to really put this into action, into play, and know that you're doing it right. All right? So I hope you learned something today, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Tomorrow or the next day, one of these days, we're going to talk about eggs. So, but if there's a subject you'd like to hear about, put it in the comments, and I'll work on getting that to you. All right? Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.